Whatever will stop that.
Doesn't matter.
Season 3 of Bridgerton stays largely faithful to its source material, romancing Mr. Bridgerton, but with some steamy additions and tweaks. The show includes several sex scenes that either don't appear in the book or are more explicit than their written counterparts. For instance, while Kate and Anthony's passionate encounters are imagined by the writers, Colin's intimate moments with Penelope in a carriage are adapted from the book, albeit with some alterations. These changes highlight the show's emphasis on more explicit and modern portrayals of romance compared to the subtler, period-appropriate depictions in the novels. A NSFW comparison of Bridgerton Season 3 sex scenes, book versus show. If your personal interests include wearing corsets, unironically calling your neighborhood the ton no matter how many people ask you to stop, and talking about Bridgerton sex scenes, rejoice. You're among friends and fellow gentle horny readers. We're going episode by episode to break down how the sex scenes in Bridgerton Season 3 compare to their source material, and the main takeaway. The show remained pretty faithful to romancing Mr. Bridgerton, at least as of Part 1, with some major additions and just a few tweaks. Episode 1. The show, Kate and Anthony continue to be horny as ever, only now they're having sex in a bed instead of outside in random gazebos. Their first intimate on-screen moment involves Anthony performing oral sex on Kate in their bed, though they get interrupted, causing Anthony to quip, "Trust me, what's happening out there cannot be as important as what's happening down here." The book, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, is woefully devoid of Kate and Anthony sex scenes due to being fully pollinated, so, moving on. The show, these two basically can't be alone without ripping each other's clothes off, case in point, when Kate's trying to work and they end up having sex on her desk. The book, doesn't happen. This scene is straight from the thirsty minds of Bridgerton's writer's room. Episode 2. The show, didn't realize my life needed footage of Colin post-threesome in a brothel, but here we are. Though, honestly the moment is pretty tame and basically involves Colin shirtless and making out with two women. The book, doesn't happen. But it's clear Colin is a ladies' man, so makes sense Netflix would want to hammer the point home, so to speak. The show, Philippa and Prudence finally figure out how to have sex and get theirs in a quick montage. The book, Penelope's older sisters are barely in romancing Mr. Bridgerton, and therefore their sex scenes remain strictly behind closed manor doors. Episode 3. Episode 4. The show, Colin heads back to the brothel but simply isn't into it due to his mind being elsewhere, on his kiss with Penelope. Instead of participating, he sits back, relaxes, and low-key disassociates while two women hook up in front of him. The show, you've obviously watched, and rewatched, this scene already, but brief reminder before we get into its book counterpart, Colin hops into Penelope's carriage to smooth things over after ruining Penelope's chances with Lord Debling. He declares that he can't stop dreaming about her, and, after a moment of shock on her part, they proceed to share a passionate kiss. One thing leads to another and Colin ends up fingering Penelope under her dress, which stays on. The book, the carriage scene is one of the pivotal moments in romancing Mr. Bridgerton, and while the show was pretty faithful to it, there were some notable changes. Ahem. In the book, Colin and Penelope are in a carriage not because of Lord Debling, but because Colin's confronting Pen over being Lady Whistledown. They end up kissing mid-argument when Penelope calls herself an ugly duckling and Colin tells her she's beautiful. Colin takes the top of Penelope's dress down and we get a full-blown nipple-touching scene. Colin doesn't finger Penelope, but we do get some impassioned hip grinding. Colin breaks out some mild dirty talking, saying, "I want to strip you bare and sink into you and never let you go." Phew. That's all for now, but we'll be adding to this once Netflix drops Bridgerton Season 3 Part 2. Also, just gonna go ahead and drop this here.